You're listening to This Week in Big Sky Football, a comprehensive look at all this week's action in Big Sky Football. Now here's your host, Scott Garrard.
Hey, welcome on in. It's another edition of This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Scott Garrard. Another great weekend in Big Sky Football we got it covered for you. Big show today. We're going to be talking to Eastern Washington coach Beau Baldwin. Southern Utah quarterback Ammon Olsen will join us in segment number 2, and then, of course, we'll chat with Craig Haley from Stats. But let's get started with a review of some past weekend's games. We'll start with last week's game on Root Sports as Montana State traveled to Provo to face off against Portland State. Actually, they went to Portland. A lot of excitement coming in this matchup, but Portland State took those expectations, ran with them. Vikings, David Jones, 285 yards as Portland State rushes for 400 yards in a 59-42 victory over the Bobcats. Northern Colorado got a big lead over UC Davis, and the Bears held on 42-0, a late lead in the second quarter. Northern Colorado goes on to beat UC Davis 56-27. Southern Utah, how about this? Another shutout victory for them as they hosted Sacramento State. Ammon Olsen, 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. T-Birds roll 44-0. North Dakota held a double-digit lead at halftime against Weber State, but the Wildcats, who trailed 24-10 in the fourth quarter, come back 15 points, and they win 25-24. Finally, Eastern Washington picking up a road win at Idaho State, beating the Bengals in that one 45-28. Cooper Kupp, 2 touchdown catches in that game, and a punt return for a touchdown. Also threw for a touchdown pass to quarterback Jordan West. How about that for a big day? Eastern Washington, Southern Utah tied atop the league at 3-0. Weber State a game behind at 3-1. Let's go out to the phones. Welcome in good friend of the program, Eastern Washington coach Beau Baldwin. Coach, how are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, another impressive offensive performance for your team on Saturday at Idaho State. What's impressing you most about your offense so far this season?
You know, there's a number of things we're doing well. We're operating well in the red zone, so we're not having to settle for field goals or stall out as we go. So that's one thing that I think we're doing really well. We're starting to get better in terms of our third down production. I don't think we were where we wanted to be early in the year, but the last 2 games we've been over 50%. But there are plenty of things we still have to do better. I think we've had too many 3-and-outs, and at times we haven't been as balanced as I would like. We're finding it, and we're getting better, and the goal is we can become more balanced the second half of this year offensively. But you know, just happy with the transition at quarterback and the way Jordan West has come in and really operated, at a high level for being his first year as a starter. So guys are working hard, but we're still a long way away. I mean, every game is an animal, and we know that in this conference.
You've had a chance to coach against a lot of great players through a lot of years. Where does Cooper Kupp rank with some of the great ones that you've been around?
I don't think I'd put anyone above him. I really couldn't. I couldn't say this guy's better than Cooper Kupp because he's been that, and I get to see him off the field, and I get to see the practice habits and the weight room habits and all that. So that helps with that, you know. So really, when I say that, I'm comparing them to guys I've gotten to be around for, their 4-year career. I can't speak for guys I've just played against because you get a little biased when you're around a young man all day long, and so he's up there. If he's not at the top of the list, he's right up there. And just because he does so many things well, and has been such not just a great player, but a great teammate, great leader, been incredible for this program.
Beau Baldwin, head coach at Eastern Washington, joining us here on This Week in Big Sky Football. Let's go back to Jordan West. You talk about making that transition. He's handled it well. What about Jordan gave you confidence in him early on that you felt like he'd be able to handle this kind of a stage and that kind of a step up in those kind of shoes to fill?
Well, we got to see some of that last year when he started in 4 games, and it obviously was unfortunate for Vernon to have an injury during his junior year here. But the silver lining to that was Jordan started for 4 games, and what I saw in him more than anything was he had a calmness to him on the sideline. He handled things that didn't go right really well, and that's what I look for that as much as anything in a quarterback. How is he handling the imperfect times, just like leaders as well? Because we can all handle the blowouts, or when we blow someone out, or if we and that doesn't happen very often in this conference, or if things are going perfect. I don't need to see what your where your mindset is, where your attitude is then. But Jordan was handling things that were tougher. He handled coming back from a tough loss at NAU. He handled it the next week with how he attacked practice. So I got to see some of those things last year, and then since then he's just run with he's run with just his attitude, his mentality, his want to not just take over and be the next quarterback, but his mindset is I want to be a great quarterback here. Wherever I am right now, that's fine, but I'm aspiring to be a great quarterback. So he's just done so many little things in the off season that made me feel like he's going to have a lot of stuff when we get next season, and he just has a release and an accuracy that it's different. It really is. It's different even than Vernon or some of the other guys. Just how with his arm strength, but how quick he gets rid of it, and how accurate he can be. It gives him the ability to use the whole field.
I love the line where you talked about being able to handle adversity and the leadership aspects of not only him but other members of that team. Is that who you credit with in this team's ability to turn an 0-2 start to 4 straight victories?
I think it's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
It's a culture. It's a coaching staff. It's a lot of the leaders. Jordan is a big part of that, but I think you can't just have one guy. You just have that's the makeup of our guys. Whether it's a situation where you're coming off a tough loss like we were against UNI, and that was our second of the year because we'd gotten beat by Oregon, and we got to find a way to just grind the next week, or whether you're in a tough ball game. Cal Poly got after us, in my opinion, for really 50, 55 minutes. But our guys did enough to not let it get too far away, and they kept a mindset that we were still going to win this thing. It doesn't mean you always will. I mean, we've lost those too, but they have the right mindset and the right attitude to at least give you that opportunity. So it's yes, Jordan's a big part of that, and he fits into that culture. But it's got to be bled throughout your entire team to really make that effective in those tough situations.
Eastern Washington head coach Beau Baldwin joining us here on This Week in Big Sky Football. Big game against Northern Colorado this week on the road. Team that's surprised some people. What do you see on this team when you break them down on film?
They're incredibly athletic, and Coach Collins has done a great job. With what he does coaching-wise, and you can see it in their effort they play with, the attitude they play with, and he's gone out and he's gotten a different level, in my opinion, a different level of athlete and football player than maybe. And we haven't played him a bunch in the last 5 years. Played him last year, but we missed those two middle. I think 12 and 13 we didn't play, so I haven't gotten to see it year in and year out. But whenever you see a team that finds different ways to win, that always impresses me too. Because they won one game against Sac State where they didn't score an offensive touchdown, yet they scored twice on defense and a special teams touchdown. That shows something. That says something because all facets of your game aren't always going to be there every week, and you got to find different ways to win, different guys to make plays. That also says something about, in my opinion, when you're scoring defensive touchdowns or special teams touchdowns, that says something about your overall effort and true athleticism, and you see that on special teams too. So that's something else I look at closely. How well are they moving on special teams? How well are they coached on special teams? How well are they? What's their physical ability on special teams? And it's at a high level. So top to bottom, this is a deep team that can do a lot of things in all three facets of the game. So we expect it's going to be another tough Big Sky ball game, like we feel every week.
It seems like that's the MO of this conference, week in and week out, is it not?
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, just from the get-go, I think after 2 weeks, almost everyone had, maybe close to one loss, and I've never seen that, to where,
yeah.
And you see it with the scores of each game. I mean, it's just, it's been that way in the past, but I feel like, maybe this year you've seen it more than I ever have with 13 teams in which all 13, at any time, can win on any Saturday. There's no doubt about it. So it just forces you to just stay. I mean, you got to stay focused. You got to stay locked in every single week to have a shot, at this thing when it gets down to the end.
Well, I know it's probably taken years off your lives as coaches, but from a selfish standpoint, as a fan of the conference, it's a heck of a year. There's no doubt about it. Hey, Coach, we appreciate it. Great stuff as always. Thanks for taking a few moments out of your time, and we look forward to doing it again soon.
No, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks, guys.
You got it. Eastern Washington head coach Beau Baldwin joining us here on This Week in Big Sky Football. All right, quick break. Come back, and we'll reveal our Root Sports Players of the Week. We'll also chat with the man who's tearing it up down in Cedar City, Utah, Southern Utah quarterback Ammon Olsen. It's all coming up. You're listening to another edition of This Week in Big Sky Football.
We play to win, but it's bigger than winning. It's about authenticity, being true to yourself, genuine dreams and a country big enough to fit them, values and hard work, giving your best and giving back, working together, building a tradition bigger than any one of us, and showing the world every day who we are and how we play. We're Big Sky. We are the heart of the American West.
In the NCAA Division I Football Championship Subdivision, the game is played with perseverance, integrity, passion, character, and sportsmanship. As he works to honor the game and respect his teammates, opponents, officials, and fans, every FCS player grows in his responsibilities as a student and as a member of his campus and community. Dedicated to personal growth and success in the classroom, the NCAA Division I FCS. Every down, every day.
Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football.
Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Scott Garrard. Southern Utah quarterback Ammon Olsen is going to join us in this segment. First, though, let's reveal our Root Sports Players of the Week. Starting on the offensive side, Portland State running back David Jones, your offensive player of the week, rushing for 285 yards, 3 scores. Portland State defeats Montana State 59-42. Also, congratulations to Weber State linebacker Emmett Tella, your Root Sports Defensive Player of the Week, forcing and recovering a fumble that set up the go-ahead score, had the game-clinching interception. Weber State beats North Dakota 25-24. And finally, Eastern Washington wide receiver Cooper Kupp, your Root Sports Special Teams Player of the Week, had a punt return for a touchdown. Eastern Washington goes on to beat Idaho State. Final score there 45-28. Time to welcome in Southern Utah quarterback Ammon Olsen to the program. Ammon, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us. Let's talk about that performance last week. You throw for 421 yards, 5 scores, and a big win over Sacramento State. You guys have been kind of a low-scoring ball control offense this year until that game last week. Where did that come from?
You know, we've had a few plays that we wished we'd had back in a couple of previous games, but this game we were able to make some plays and get the ball in the end zone a little bit more.
That
was good.
Yeah, no doubt. You had a bit of a transition with your offensive coordinator. How has that transition been for you, having a new coach that you're working with week in and week out?
You know, it was a little bit weird in the beginning, but the good thing was it happened during a bye week. So me and the new old coordinator, Coach J-Dub, were able to meet, get on the same page. It's the same offense, just a couple wrinkles here and there, new personality, but it was good. He did a really good job, and I've worked close with him already because he's with the receivers. So, but he's doing a really good job.
Southern Utah has had its struggles last season, but, man, you guys have won 4 straight. You probably should have picked up a win in Logan against Utah State earlier in the season. What's made the difference for you guys this year?
I think the motivation from last year carried over. We think we were a better team than our record showed, and we didn't want to have any regrets this year, so we worked hard in the summer and put the time in, and we're just working to make sure we don't leave any wins off the board this year.
You know, we always enjoy chatting with your head coach, Ed Lamb. What's he like to play for?
He's intense. He knows exactly what the players need to hear. He doesn't let us get too high or too low. He likes us to stay calm, stay steady, and just keep working. So he's awesome to work with. He knows the offense and defense really well. So with this transition of new offensive coordinator, Coach Lamb's been there, and he's been able to help out.
Mike Sharp has really developed into a strong player for this team. What's made him so dependable this year?
He's just a freak athlete. You know, he played quarterback at one point. He knows he has a knack for bringing the ball down no matter where it is placed. So it's good for me to have him because he brings down any ball that's within his realm. So he's a freak athlete, got great hands, he's fast, and he can jump out of the gym. So he's a great receiver to have.
Well, it certainly makes your life easier as a quarterback because, and I'd like you know, I'm sure you think you're accurate all the time, but even if you misplace a ball here and there, it sounds like he's got the athleticism to go up there and grab it.
Exactly. I don't have to be too accurate with my receivers, which is very nice.
You go on the road to take on UC Davis this week. Not a great win-loss record, but statistically they're a strong team. What do you see out of that team when you look at them on film?
You know, exactly what you said. Their win-loss record doesn't show a lot, but they have some really good talent. it kind of reminds me of our team last year. I feel like we were really talented, but we didn't have a really good win-loss record. But we were able to win some crucial games for our program. So you can't take them lightly. They have really good athletes. They're going to match up well against us. So we'll just have to go in there and do our thing.
Obviously, you guys are always looking to score a lot of points, but it certainly helps you out on offense when you look across the field and your defense keeps pitching shutouts week after week. What is it about that defense that's allowed them to be so successful this season as you look at what they've done?
Yeah, they have played incredible the whole season. They had one game that, they got picked on a little bit, but other than that, they've been, unstoppable. And it's hard to credit it to one thing. Coach Warren, the D coordinator, he has a great scheme, and he knows how to utilize the talent that our defense does have. But we have some freaks on defense with James Cowser, Miles Killebrew, LaShawn Sims, Matt Hawley. I mean, everyone on defense is really putting in their time and effort and doing the right thing that can make plays on the field. So if they keep up what they're doing, they give us, our offense, a great chance to win. So
we record this show out of Salt Lake City, so a lot of people here are familiar with your story and how you ended up at Southern Utah. But for those that are unfamiliar with it, talk a little bit about your path that took you to Cedar City and to the point where you're having such success with Southern Utah.
So what happened was, as a true freshman, I actually came down to Cedar City SUU with Coach Lamb, played here as a freshman, and then went on an LDS mission. And while I was on my LDS mission, I had the chance to receive a full-ride scholarship to BYU. So I obviously accepted that, went to BYU. I redshirted right off my mission. And then then a year after that, I was Taysom's backup, which was a great situation to be in. It was fun. It was awesome. But I found myself kind of waiting for Taysom to get injured in order to play, which isn't the best situation to be in. So I contacted Coach Lamb and talked to Coach Mendenhall, and, they both understood my situation. And I was able to come back down here right before the spring ball of 2014. So been able to play here for a couple of years, and it's been a great experience for me so far.
Well, Ammon, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. Good luck the rest of the way, my friend.
Hey, thank you so much.
That's Ammon Olsen. We'll take a break, come back with stats. Craig Haley, talk to him about the national landscape of FCS, also Big Sky Conference games. It's all up next here on This Week in Big Sky Football.
We play to win, but it's bigger than winning. It's about authenticity, being true to yourself, genuine dreams and a country big enough to fit them, values and hard work, giving your best and giving back, working together, building a tradition bigger than any one of us, and showing the world every day who we are and how we play. We're Big Sky. We are the heart of the American West.
In the NCAA Division I Football Championship Subdivision, the game is played with perseverance, integrity, passion, character, and sportsmanship. As he works to honor the game and respect his teammates, opponents, officials, and fans, every FCS player grows in his responsibilities as a student and as a member of his campus and community. Dedicated to personal growth and success in the classroom, the NCAA Division I FCS. Every down, every day.
Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football.
All right, final segment of the show. You're listening to another edition of This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Scott Garrard, FCS senior editor from Stats. Craig Haley will join us in just a moment. First, though, let's review the upcoming games this weekend in Big Sky Football. Root Sports, your official TV partner of the Big Sky Conference. And this week's game of the week comes as North Dakota will take on Montana on Root Sports, as well as DirecTV's Audience Network. Two great defenses facing off in this one as UND takes its top-ranked run defense into Washington Grizzlies Stadium to take on Tyrone Holmes and the Grizz. Kickoff on that game is at 1:30 Mountain Time. Eastern Washington will play at Northern Colorado, 1:35 Mountain Time. Coverage of that game can be found on WatchBigSky.com. Montana State Bobcats with a non-conference game as the Cats host the East Tennessee State Buccaneers. 2:35 start time at Bobcat Stadium in Bozeman. Coverage of that game can be found on Cowles Media in Montana, Altitude outside of the state, and MSUBobcats.com. Southern Utah puts their undefeated mark in conference play on display as the Thunderbirds travel to face UC Davis. Kickoff of that game is at 4 o'clock Pacific and also can be found on WatchBigSky.com. Weber State will travel to Northern Arizona Wildcats, coming off 2 straight wins. That game kicks off at 5 o'clock Mountain Time. It can be found on Fox Sports Arizona, as well as WatchBigSky.com. And Idaho State travels to face off against Sacramento State, 6:05 kickoff on WatchBigSky.com. And finally, Portland State, the Vikings continue their Americana tour as they travel to St. Louis Obispo to face Cal Poly. Kickoff of that game is at 6:05, and again, available on WatchBigSky.com. Once again, time to go out to the phones and welcome in FCS Senior Director from Stats, Craig Haley. Craig, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing real well, Scott. How about you?
I'm doing great. Let's start with Portland State. Their massive rushing performance against Montana State on Root Sports last week. Bruce Barnum finally gets that contract. Team got a lot of media attention last week. But that win, how big of a win was it for Portland State, that resume?
Well, it's terrific. I mean, and Bruce certainly deserves that contract.
No doubt.
To do it the way they're doing it this year, I mean, they win with defense, and then suddenly they have all these rushing yards and all these points on Montana State. I mean, they can win in different ways, and it's just great for them. I mean, they have a tough stretch ahead, but I think they've proven they can handle it.
You know, what's interesting, too, is you find momentum growing inside of a program, and I believe you said it last week. They've always had athletes. They've always had, a decent fan base and athletes there, and it seems like Barney Ball's the one that's really kind of brought it together.
Indeed. I mean, I think, they have underachieved, if you will, in recent years. And every year and every few years they seem to sneak up with the season that you don't see coming. But this one is just, taking it to another level. I mean, the teams they've beaten and the way they're doing it. So this is just their year.
Let's go to Southern Utah. Another shutout victory in Big Sky Conference play, this time over Sacramento State. Are you a believer in this SUU team?
I'm looking at the Big Sky standings and three points in 3 league games. You don't do that in the Big Sky. I mean, you do that in one quarter, not 12 quarters.
Yeah.
That's just amazing. They have all these talented players. That could be NFL bound on defense, and obviously you can't forget their offense too. I mean, with Ammon, Olsen, a second-year quarterback there running it. So they're for real. There's another team with a tough stretch to end the season, but they're tough to score on. I think they can handle it.
What kind of world are we living in when you look at top of the conference? You're seeing Southern Utah, you're seeing Portland State. I mean, and Portland State getting wins over Montana State. This is kind of an upside down world we're living in right now in the Big Sky Conference.
It's great. I mean, fans of the power teams through the years might not want to see this, but everybody else in the Big Sky should be thrilled. I mean, it's just every week you don't know what you're going to get, and every week it's just so much fun. And obviously you want to have a bunch of teams in the playoffs, but hey, I think you might have some surprise teams here making the playoffs, and it's just great to have a year like this every now and then.
Let's play a little bit of a game here. I want you to pick rank the 4 best teams right now in the Big Sky Conference.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'll certainly go Eastern Washington 1.
Yeah.
Then I will go. I think I'm going to go Portland State.
Okay.
I will go Montana, and 4th I'll go Southern Utah.
Really?
Yeah.
You're leaving out Weber State there, who's at 3-1.
Well, I mean, the cardiac kids, if you will, and I think they've really risen. I think that's a team that should have done better in recent years, but
yeah.
I think that they are getting it together. Jay Hill had them closer in games a year ago. We've talked about it where they were better than their record. I think that win at Montana speaks volumes, but I think if you look at the overall resume, I mean, Montana's played tougher teams. I would probably go 5th, perhaps, for Weber. I mean, I think they're that close.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, so we talked about Montana State. They falling to Portland State. Give us, how do you assess that program right now compared to where you thought they'd be going into the preseason?
Well, we know they're going to beat East Tennessee State, right?
Yes.
So that'll get them back going. I'm amazed that they haven't fixed their defense. I've always thought of them as a tough, hard-nosed kind of team, and obviously they're going to score a lot, but I just think they're better than what they've shown this year and the last couple of years. They really got to pick it up here. They're 3-3. In a season where there's only 11 games as opposed to last year, I think you need to be 7-4 to make the FCS playoffs, and that means they're going to have to win 4 of their last 5. I don't think 6-5 will cut it. Last year 7-5 did, but that was a 12-game year. I think they really need to get it going. Montana State. If things don't go right for Montana, I think that final game could be for a playoff spot, perhaps.
Big Sky has been such a strong offensive conference for so many years, but it seems like the league's top teams have really great defenses. Do you kind of get that theme that this conference might be shifting a little bit more to a defensive conference?
Yes. I think you're always going to be better in the offense, but if you're running up scores and not getting the playoff results that you want, it's going to change everybody's mindset. And I think you want athletes, you want pass rushers, you want guys who are mobile and will fly around for gang tackling. I do think teams have picked up on it, and Southern Utah has taken it to another level. 2 years ago they had all that talent on defense too. It didn't fall right for them last year, but I think Montana last year with their defense, and they've kind of continued it pretty well this year. I think teams are learning. Eastern Washington's been trying to mix it up through the years and get better on defense. I think it's always been there. It's just the offenses are so good that they're hard to catch up to. But yeah, there's been some of that gap's been closed this year.
Looking at the stats, FCS top 25. Coastal Carolina undefeated at 6-0. James Madison undefeated at 7-0. But neither of those two teams ranked number one. Jacksonville State, your number one team in the country in the Stats FCS poll. In the Craig Haley FCS poll, how do you have these teams ranked?
I would probably my top 4 right now on my ballot is Jacksonville State, Illinois State, Coastal Carolina, and James Madison in that order. I think all 4 are close. They're all getting first-place votes in the FCS poll. Until last week, I would have said North Dakota State for sure, and then they go and lose to South Dakota.
Yeah.
So I just think those top teams are so close. I think it shows that maybe you want to get home playoff games more than ever, just because there is some parity, and those teams up top, certainly, have the advantage right now.
Well, Craig, we appreciate it. Great stuff as always. We look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it.
That's Craig Haley from Stats joining us. Big thanks to him, as well as Eastern Washington coach Beau Baldwin. Also, big thanks to Southern Utah quarterback Ammon Olsen. Also, big thanks to Austin Horton for making it happen, as well as executive producer John Oglesby. I'm Scott Garrard. Enjoy the games this weekend. Be back with you next week for another edition of This Week in Big Sky Football.